Sir, in the last class, we talked about Supreme Court's judgment on the preamble.
Yeah.
We talked about 3 cases. One is Berubari Union case, where Supreme Court said that preamble is not the part of a constitution. So Supreme Court got this idea from US. And it delivered that way. So after that, in Keshavanand Bharati case, it told that preamble is part of a constitution, and in our constitution, it is working along with us. The preamble is working along with the constitution, so it is an important integral part of the constitution. And it also said that it can be amended as said in the constitution through Article 368, but the basic structure of the constitution shouldn't be changed. By the way, it can be amended. And it also told that preamble can be used as a vital part for interpretation of various articles and clauses of the constitution. And similarly, in LIC case, the same was said again. So preamble is an integral part of our constitution. It was said again by the Supreme Court.
I'm not speaking, only Swati is speaking as of now. So we should hear Swati. She's explaining beautifully. Yeah, go ahead, Swati.
And so these were the 3 important judgments of the Supreme Court about the preamble. Then we moved on to fundamental rights, where we talked about John Locke. And according to him, nature has given birth to us, and everyone has certain rights, which is by birth we belong to it. So the rights are right to life, liberty, and right to property. And rights we can classify into natural rights. Natural rights, it's one which we acquire by birth. So by birth itself, we'll have that rights. For example, the right to life, walk, clean air, and clean water. And we talked about legal rights. Legal rights are those which the state will be giving us. So, for example, the state has given us right to information, right to education, and all. These are legal rights. Constitutional rights are those which are provided by the Constitution to us. And those rights are right to vote, right to speech, and all. And we move on to...
Swati is speaking. Shivani, are you not able to hear Swati? Swati is speaking about natural right, legal right. You are in the class, but we don't know whether you are able to hear Swati or not. Just refresh yourself, Shivani. It may be that in a connection issue. Yeah. Online has its own limitation. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, then we were speaking about fundamental rights. These are rights which are fundamental in nature and without which a human can't develop a potential life or live a dignified life without these. So these are fundamental rights. In our constitution, we are provided with 6 sets of fundamental rights. Those
Right.
are right to equality, freedom, right against
What is
exploitation.
difference between fundamental right and constitutional right?
So it is that all fundamental rights are constitutional rights, but all constitutional rights are not fundamental rights.
Yeah. For example.
For example, right to equality is a fundamental rights, but that right is also in the constitution, which we can say that it's also a constitutional right.
Very
But
good.
right to vote is a constitutional right, but we can't claim it to be a fundamental right. And
Great. Great. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Great.
yeah, so
Hmm.
these are fundamental rights, and we also
Hmm.
talk about human rights. So
Hmm.
this is given by UN General Assembly through Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Hmm.
So they were about 30 articles and a preamble, which
Hmm.
gives us a set of rights. So for humans as human, so these are called human rights.
Hmm.
Then we also talked about negative and positive rights.
Hmm. Hmm.
Negative rights are natural rights, which are by birth we used to have, and the positive rights the state must protect it. The legal rights are positive rights.
Right. Very good. Very good. Yeah. So you have talked about human rights. Yeah. Any issue? Do you want to add something, Avinav? Shivani? Yeah. You are very good. You are very good. You are done well, Swati. Yeah. What, Shivani? Are you able to hear me now? Are you able to hear us? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay, so we talked about the various talked about the judgment, and we talked about judgment regarding preamble, and we also talked about the rights, the concept of rights, and I divided the rights into various category, right? Um, we divided the rights into various category, like divided in the last class. Like for example, I talked about natural right, right? Then I talked about legal rights, right? Then I talked about constitutional rights, right? There are also called moral rights, right? A set of rights prescribed by the morality, right? Then there are called fundamental rights, then also called human rights. Do you have any issue in understanding rights? I didn't explain. I was just listening to Swati. She was explaining several rights. Yeah, Swati just explained whatever the I taught you in the last class. Do you have any doubt regarding the last class? Anyone? Most welcome. Now, fine. Very
Hello.
good. Very good. Yeah.
So I want to ask that which type of constitution Indonesia has?
Indonesia.
Yeah.
I have to look.
Because,
What do you mean
because
to
sir,
update? Are you
because sir,
talking about?
Indonesia banned Yeah, sir, because sir, Indonesia banned living relations and LGQBT, this jail for this type of community. So I want to know that which type of constitution they have, that they have not freedom to do
Even
something.
LGBT had no freedom in India before 2014.
Yes, but sir, now it is.
Now it is, but Indonesia may take time.
So sir, it was jail for LGQBT community before
Yeah, of
2018.
course. Even in India, it was a crime. Homosexuality was a crime,
Okay.
right? So even in India, it was a crime. Moral right means, Swati, some set of rights can be moral right. For example, recently, Shivani has asked, about LGBTQ. So if you look at the IPC 377, right, homosexuality was a criminal offense. Homosexuality was an offense. But morally, if you talk about constitutional morality, the Supreme Court said no, it is not. Because constitutional morality says, LGBTQIA plus should have right. Right, so something can be illegal, but morally can be wrong. Fine. So some set of rights which morally talks about, morally right, that is a moral right. Fine. Now talk about fundamental right. You know that we have 6 set of fundamental right. I think yesterday we talked about, no? 6 sets of FR. लिखवा दिया था ना, right to equality. Already done, na? Yeah. Okay. Now I will talk about estate. What do you mean by estate? Have you seen estate anywhere? What do you mean by the term estate? Have you heard the word estate?
Yes, sir. A state becomes with the when including 4 terms, that are territory, population, government, sovereignty, where they are in any particular area. So we can say it is a state, and without anyone from this, we can't say it is a state.
Very good. So state has 4, component or element, essential element. One is territory, right? State is a territory, and then it is also called territory, population, government, and sovereignty. These are the 4 essential elements of a state, isn't it? The essential element of the state is there are 4. Then anything, have you seen a state anywhere? That you have defined, Shivani, that the state has 4 essential elements: territory, population, government, and sovereignty. If you find these all characteristics, you can term something as a state. But have you seen a state?
No, sir, state is not visible.
Then have you met
It is a
traffic police? Have you met
So
traffic
it is
police?
a boundary. Means we can locate it some by boundary. Like we can't see the lines of map that like longitudinal and this type of line. So state has a fixed with a boundary.
You're right. Now, no, the term state has been defined in many ways. This is one way you have defined Shivani state. A state is a territorial state, a certain population living in a certain territory ruled by the government and free from external control can be called a state by this definition. But do you know we encounter a state every day? We encounter a state every day in our life. For example, we encounter traffic police. When you go, on the road, do you encounter police? Have you ever encountered police? Are they state? The government. Okay. Yeah, they are government. I'm paddler, sir, so not from my side. Oh. Yeah. Now look at the government. You talked about this is the government, but government changes in just after 5 years. But have you seen that police wala changed after 5 years? Shivani? Then?
Oh, sir, they are permanent executive of government, permanent servant of government.
Now, so that they represent the state.
So they
Police
represent government and government represent state.
Yeah, government represent the state. Yeah, the police, traffic police, prison, judiciary, everything, parliament, local government, mukhia, all represent the state.
Yes.
Right? A state, is a collection of institution. Right? Like police, prison, military, bureaucrat. Right? So, police represents the state, prison represents the state, military represents the state, bureaucrats represent the state. Right? The president is the head of the state. The president also represents the state. Right? The president also represents the state. So, a state is a collection of institutions. Isn't it? Right? We encounter a state in our everyday life. Okay, how many of you have passport? No one? Okay, no problem. How many of you have an Aadhaar card? Aadhaar card. You have, all of you have. Okay. Who had issued it? Who had issued this Aadhaar card? Government of India, right? State. Yeah. The Indian state has, issued you the Aadhaar card or the voter card. Right? When you marry, for registry, where do you go to register your marriage? Court, yeah, court or the marriage court, a marriage registry office. Yeah, my marriage registration office that represents the state. Right? When you buy land or whenever you go for, where do you go for registry of the land? Where do you go? Registry office? That represents state. Okay. Does municipal staff or the panchayat staff come for collection of garbage in your area? Yeah? Does that represent the state? Yes, that represents the state. I have, I hope you have got some idea of state, right? It is a collection of institutions. So it is a police, prison, military, bureaucrat, marriage bureau office.
So, we are citizen of India, so we also represent a state.
No, we are citizen. There is a difference between citizen and state. A state has some purpose, and it has a relation. Of course, we have relation with the state. We have validated state, and the state has duty to protect our liberty, our rights. We are not representing a state because we have no authority, neither authority nor responsibility. Right? As a citizen, we have a right, and we have certain obligation, obedience, right? Now, got the idea? What is a state? Marriage office, bureau, land record office. Land record office, block officer, right? Block officer, right? Tehsildar. Tehsildar, Swati is a North Indian term, it is a Hindi word. Basically, Tehsildar is a local official, local level official. These are the state. Am I making sense? What is the state? Right? Now, when you ride your bicycle or motorbike or car, or whenever you just take the bus, have you seen bus? Do you say tehsildar? Very good. If you know this word, then fine. But otherwise, it is a Hindi word used in northern India to represent the local officer. Fine. That's good if you know this word. And if this word is used in southern India, yeah.
We say Dasildar here, sir.
Tahsildar?
Yeah, Dasildar.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Tahsildar. Okay, fine. Now, Swati. Okay, theek hai Shivani. The pronunciation, right? The pronunciation difference. Yeah, it's all right. Now, when we travel, do we follow red light? Do we follow red light? Yeah. Then can you not honestly, but there are people who follow it. Okay, there are people who follow the marriage law, isn't it? Can anybody allow a 5-year-old, old girl or boy to marry? It is illegal. It is illegal, right? Then, when you walk on the road, on which side do you walk? On the middle of the road, or the left of the road, or right of the road? Left of the road. Why do you you ride or drive on left side of the road? When you drive your bike or bicycle, why do you drive at left side of the road? You follow the traffic rules. Traffic rules. Okay. Right. Now look at. Nobody tells you, okay, you follow it or you not follow it. But if you see that, a state also represented by the rules, regulation, and business of the government. right? State, if you look, if you're following the rules, that means you're following the state. If you're following the regulation, you're following the state, right? So you can see a state is also a kinds of rules. How state, we can define a state in a multiple way, right? Now, third, you can say that a state as a territorial unit. A state as territorial unit. Like, you know, when you say US as a state, India as a state, UK as a state. Am I making sense? So you can see that state has been defined in multiple ways. Making sense? The term state has been defined in a multiple way. State as a US territorial unit. Now come to the Article 12 and a state. If you look at Article 12, defines a state. Now what Article 12 defines, you know, what Article 12 talks about? You know, that a state means, Article 12 defines a state, you know, a state means, you know, first, Government of India and Parliament. Government of India and Parliament. Then second, state means government of a state, government of, you know, states. That means UP, Bihar, they're also a state, plus and legislature. Legislature, they are also a state. For example, government of Tamil Nadu is a state. Tamil Nadu legislature is also a state. The government of UP is also a state. Government of, you know, UP legislature is also a state. So you look at the central government and parliament, state government and state legislature. Third, local government. Local government, when you talk about, when you say the PRI, Panchayati Raj institution, and municipality. That are also a state. The local government are also a state. Then it talks about other authorities. Other authorities, 1 minute. Other authorities, right, in which government have sufficient regulation. Sufficient regulation. And get government funding. And get government funding. Now, for example, have you heard about ONGC? ONGC, or Steel Authority of India Limited, SAIL, SAIL, GAIL, GAIL, right? Or railways, yes, PSUs, railways. Yeah, have you traveled railway? Have you ever traveled in railway? Have you met TT, जो ticket काटने आता है, the black coat man or a woman? Who show her? Many times they represent the state. Let me tell you, they represent the state. So as per Article 12, state means all this. But here judiciary is not as per the state. Judiciary is not a state as per Article 12. Am I making sense? As per the Indian Constitution, state is the central government and the parliament, the union government and the legislature, local government and other government. Why judiciary is not a state? Because judiciary is not a state. Judiciary belongs to the people, and judiciary should protect the people's right from the state. That's why judiciary is not a state. Right? Judiciary is independent. It is an independent institution which is supposed to protect rights of citizen against the state encroachment. For example, when police encroaches you, who will protect you? Judiciary. Judiciary is not a state. Here judiciary is with demos, with the people of India. Making sense? Swati, Avinav and Shivani? Yeah, very primary information I'm giving you. I hope you have written it. Have you? If you have not, then let me know. Just write it. If you have not, then let me know. Yeah, write it. Done? Okay, Swati. State include, of course, UTs. State, yeah, also UTs, yeah. UTs are also a state. Right? The state government means UT government also. Yeah? Okay. Now, I'm saying it that judiciary is not a state. But is it that all part of judiciary is not a state? For example, if you know that judiciary has 3 branches. For example, sometimes judiciary work as a legislature. Judiciary represents people. Yeah. Judiciary represents people. Judiciary, is to protect rights, given in the part 3 of the Constitution. So whenever a state will violate your rights, judiciary will protect you. In case of violation of rights against the state, you can approach to the High Court or Supreme Court. Okay, Shivani? Okay. Now look at the judiciary. Judiciary has 3 parts. The legislative part, for example, Vishakha guideline. Have you heard about Vishakha guideline? Have you ever heard about Vishakha guideline? No? Okay. Vishakha guideline was a Supreme Court judgment right, and guideline in order to protect women from sexual harassment. At workplace. Right, this guideline came in 1997. Right? This guideline came into 1997. Supreme Court judgment and guideline was in order to protect. It was a Supreme Court judgment and guideline in order to protect women from sexual harassment at workplace. And this guideline was given in 1997. Basically, exactly, Shivani. The Bhamri Devi. There's one lady. Her name was Bhamri Devi. She was a government worker, and she used to work to prevent child marriage. And she was gang raped. Right? She was gang raped. But Rajasthan High Court acquitted the rapist. But the Supreme Court convicted, right? Not on her own family, no. What happened in Rajasthan? Bhamri Devi was a activist, right activist, and she was also government, servant, working for protecting woman, child from the early marriage. Early marriage, balika badhu. Early marriage is a problem in India still today, right? Now look at, she was preventing a woman, a girl child from early marriage, and that irritated the local people, especially male, in the state of Rajasthan, right? And one moment she was gang raped by many, right? She went to the High Court. High Court acquitted, Rajasthan High Court acquitted the rapist and said that the man cannot gang rape. Let me tell you that High Court judgment. The High Court said the man cannot gang rape. I don't know, in front of her husband, thoda sa usko thoda story dekhna padega, right? Just you need to go through, right? Vishaka guideline and Bhavri Devi case. वो थोड़ा story मिल जाएगा आपको. Now Supreme Court convicted and issued a guideline. Because there was no law. There was no law from the parliament which can protect women from the sexual harassment at workplace. So this guideline is like kind of law passed by the judiciary. Now, judiciary has also administrative staff. Administrative part. For example, when you enter into the court, there are many clerks, many people, babus who are sitting in order to assist judges. Have you ever been to court? Yeah? No? Many times, no problem. Yeah, those who have gone, that's all right. You can see many babu who are sitting, they are the administrative. They are helping the judges. They are administrative part. And now judges are giving judgment. That's called adjudication. Right? Basically, the giving solution to the problem. Now look at the judiciary has three parts: the legislative part, the administrative part, and adjudication. Now these two parts are state under Article 12. These two parts are state under Article 12. It means even within the court, if a person restrict you or discriminate you, right, you can move to the court. You file a writ petition. Adjudication matlab, adjudication means solution to the problem, or you can say justice. This is not a state. This is not a state. For example, आपको कोर्ट ने आपको पुलिस ने पकड़ लिया. Now Supreme Court will give some verdict. Okay, leave that person. Leave Shivani. Why you are arresting? She has a right to walk. that is not a state. But these two parts, administrative part of the judiciary and legislative part of the judiciary, are state under Article 12. Making sense? But generally, if you, this is the very deep I am giving you, right? Otherwise, generally, if someone asks you that is judiciary is a state under Article 12, you said simply no. But if someone say that if the legislative part, that for example, is Visakha guideline is a state, you say yes, Visakha guideline is a state. If some babu, right, working in the state, in the judiciary, within the judiciary, right, or judicial, for judicial work, do they represent the state? Yes, they do represent the state. Little got the idea? Yeah? You didn't get what idea? Sir, advocates does not represent the state. Only Sarkari Babus, clerk, all the Sarkari Babus appointed by the government. Fine.
Whom advocates represent for judges?
Sorry, I didn't get.
Means advocate, to whom advocate represents?
People, of course.
Okay,
Advocate
judiciary.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Now, agar koi puche na, judiciary is a state under Article 12, no. Now come to, part 3. For the, fundamental right is, mentioned under, is under part 3 of the Constitution. Fundamental right is mentioned under part 3 of the Indian Constitution. And we have 6 set of fundamental rights. So I discussed Article 12. Article 12, that is a state. Article 12 defined a state. Now come to, Article 13, which is very, very important. It was a very revolutionary article in the Indian Constitution. Right? Now, what Article 13 talks about, that all law which was working before the commencement of the Constitution, if that law is inconsistent, contravention, or contradictory to the fundamental rights mentioned in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, shall be null and void. Simply. Simple meaning, all law which are not consistent with the fundamental right in the all the law working in the colonial India, if that law is not consistent with the fundamental right mentioned in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, shall be null and void. Right, so Article 13, Clause 1 says that all law, all colonial law, you can write, all colonial law shall be null and void. Null and void if it is contradictory to the fundamental right given in the Part 3 of the Constitution. It means all British law was declared null and void. Simply, all British law declared null and void if that law is against the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. The Part 3, which is fundamental right. So why only colonial law means, no, any law, I'm just talking about any law, because हम तुरंत इंडिपेंडेंस हुए थे, हमने कोई लॉ नहीं बनाया था उस टाइम पे, Article 13 declared that any law which has been made by the colonial government shall be null and void if that law is against the fundamental right mentioned in the part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Got the idea? Shivani, Swati, Avinav? Yeah? Okay. The second clause, article clause 2, says, the state shall not make any law that can be inconsistent with the fundamental right in part 3 of the Indian Constitution. And if state makes such law, that law shall be null and void. Right? A state cannot make any law which could be contradictory to the fundamental right given in the part 3 of the Indian Constitution. If a state makes some law, that would be null and void simply. Making sense? So that was the clause 2. You can write here that the all law made by the state shall be null and void if it is inconsistent. I'm using another word for contradictory ke badle. If it is inconsistent with fundamental right given in the part 3 of the Constitution. Right. So if any law made by the state, shall be null and void, any law made by the state shall be null and void if that law is inconsistent with the fundamental rights declared in the part 3 of the Indian Constitution. So any law, either colonial law or any law that would be made. Now, fundamental right has been given priority over the law. Fundamental right belongs to citizen. Nahi, what does it mean? The fundamental right, part 3 of the Indian Constitution has given priority. Right? Nahi, tell me, what do you extracting the meaning from these two clause of Article 13? Yeah, yes, right. So no one can violate fundamental rights. Even the law cannot, fundamental right cannot be snatched from the people. Yeah, very good, very good. Fundamental right is a priority over the law. Neither state, nobody can snatch the law. Now, if you look at the clause 3, defined law. Law means ordinance, a statute. If you look at clause 3, article clause 3 defines law. Right? Defines law. Law means, law passed by the parliament, by the legislature. Right? Law, ordinances. A statute. Right? Executive resolution. Etc. Right? This would be the law. And this would be the law. And this law should not be inconsistent with the fundamental right. Now, if you look at Article 13 clause 4, it says that, you know, it shall not be applicable to the Constitutional Amendment Act. Right? This clause, yeah, this clause shall not be applicable to Constitutional Amendment Act, CAA. That means Constitutional Amendment Act can be made and that can violate the fundamental rights. Now this has been included later on. We'll tell you tomorrow. So this clause shall not be applicable to the Constitutional Amendment Act, right? Okay? Under Article 368. So if Parliament amended the Constitution under Article 368 and snatched some fundamental right, they can. Making sense? Okay. If you have made the two articles, which is a basic one, I had given you the basic understanding of, you know, the Article 12 and Article 13. Right? So, any doubt if you have, right? Tomorrow I'll start right to equality. I'll stop here. No doubt? Okay, I hope. If you have any doubt, write it down, right, and ask me tomorrow. It's all right. It's all right, Swati. So, are you getting information? Right? Is class useful for you? Oh, very good. Very good. Very good. So, see you tomorrow then. Yeah. Now you are getting primary, but we'll come to the secondary. Don't worry. Right? Sometimes, you know, primary information और UPSC के जो PT में आता है, all are primary information. No, you can't find it in the book. You can't find it in the book. ठीक है? चलो, see you.